Hey guys, Shot the Monkey here. So, back again with another review. This time for you, I have swapped over from World of Warplanes and I have swapped over to my World of Warships account, as you can see here. And I'm going to be reviewing the relatively new Japanese Tier 9 premium cruiser, the Azuma, which is a ship that is available for either 1 million free experience or around 55 to 60 pounds, I think. I'm not sure on the exact number, or whatever that is in your equivalent currency. Um, it's a ship that originally I was a bit disappointed with when I saw how it was being changed through the development process. Um, in that I think that they killed off its uniqueness and its flair and the one kind of focus that it had. Um, but I'm not disappointed with it in its release state. And I'll go into why. Unlike what I've seen from a couple of other reviews and a couple of people's thoughts on this ship, I don't think it's bad. I think it's entirely acceptable in terms of its stats. Um, I don't think it's a bad ship at all. I think the problem that you have with this ship is that a lot of premium vessels that have come out recently, specifically the other two Tier 9s in reference to the Stalingrad and the Alaska, they both had one key thing that they did well, or a couple of key things that they did well. And there's a couple of factors that they shined in. And I think that the Azuma is missing that. And I think that's what's brought it down in a lot of people's opinion. There is, for example, you see review titles on YouTube where it says like Azuma, just nope. And I think that's wrong. I think this ship has been kind of damned and has been judged before it's really been given a chance. And honestly, I don't feel like I have wasted my investment in actually getting this ship because I quite enjoy it. Now that may be because I am a low tier, low skill pleb that plays cart battles the majority of time and rarely ever takes this into random battles. That may be why. But this doesn't feel uncomfortable to me. And I'm a guy that at most, even I'm like across all my World of Tanks, not World of Tanks, World of Warships accounts, has seen tier 7, tier 8s. I've jumped onto this account, I don't even have anything above like tier 6, and I've bought a tier 9 premium. And I jump straight into the kind of ships that this thing runs into, and it still feels comfortable. This still feels like what a Japanese cruiser should play like. I don't have any expectations that this ship is going to just be the I win button because it's a tier 9 premium, and therefore it should be. Anyway, talking about the ship itself, we'll start off first with the survivability. You are playing a cruiser. Despite its size and despite the fact that it is impressively large and possibly what you might call a super cruiser or a super heavy cruiser, it is a cruiser nonetheless. This thing is not going to shrug off every single shell fired at you. It's especially pervious to HE shells because it lacks the armor required to be able to shatter most HE shells on contact to stop them from getting penetrations, so you will suffer in that aspect. The armor isn't that bad that you can't ricochet armor-piercing shells. In fact, if you either point directly nose in or give a slight angle, maybe 5-10 degrees, I have ricocheted armor-piercing shells fired at this thing in this, or at least I have, if you point in, you can reduce the size of profile they've got to aim at, so that they might either miss or hit the superstructure, and that causes less damage to superstructure penetrations than it would, or overpens than it would to penetrations on the hull. So certainly the armor is not battleship worthy. It's not even like American heavy cruiser worthy in some cases, but it's certainly good. The Alaska is going to be Alaska and Stalingrad will be better choices if you want more survivability for your ship, but this is by no means bad for a tier 9 vessel in my humble opinion. Next, artillery, the guns. I have a love-hate relationship with these things. Their damage potential is ridiculously nice. They have quite a nice rate of fire in my humble opinion, so the damage per minute they can do and the alpha damage they can do is quite nice. Their penetration is good both with the HE and AP shells. That's very comfortable. So much so that there were times where I've shot at the broadside of cruisers aiming for the citadel and got over penetrations because there's got too much penetration potential in those shells. But there's other cases where I've fired AP at a cruiser swapping to HE thinking that the AP is going to ricochet and it's gone and got full penetrations, or in some cases even citadeled them, which is always fun to see when you expect AP shells to ricochet and they do anything except that. The high explosive shells also very nice. Of course the Japanese have a bonus to the high explosive shells, so this thing can do quite a lot of damage to just about anything it fires high explosive at, and also has a reasonable fire chance, which you can of course boost if you take Demolition Expert and put the signal flag on that correlates with that. AA defense I can't really comment on. I haven't tested it against carriers all that much. I have played random battles to try and get in games against carriers, but I haven't seen any. The few games that I saw where a carrier was involved and it did strike me, I was usually surrounded by other ships, so that kind of mitigated the amount of effort that the AA defences for this ship in particular need to put out. I will say this, a lot of its AA defences come in the form of the damage put out by these 100mm guns that you can see here, which make up the secondary battery. And then you have no real good mid-range, and then it's just taken up by your short-range 25mm, which are not that brilliant. So you will rely heavily on your long-range AA damage per minute and your AA flak burst from these 100mm guns. Also of note, because I have forgotten to mention them when I was talking about the artillery, there is no point, unless you're going to exclusively run this in co-op battles, taking a secondary build on this vessel. While these 100mm guns are very nice, and I think you can get them down to a firing rate of about 2 seconds with BFT and the appropriate secondary boosters to your reload booster and accuracy, and you can get them to fire at about 7.5 kilometers. They're only 100mm guns, so if you want them to be effective against anything, you also have to invest in Demolition Expert and or IFHE, which I think is far too much investment for me for a system that only fires out to 7.5 kilometers, when you can go down to tier 8 and pick up something like a Turbits or a Gascon or something like that, and you have far better secondaries there that require less investment and get more out of them. So a secondary build is, in my opinion, irrelevant on this vessel, unless you're using it only for co-op battles. Manoeuvrability, it's still quick. The rudder shift time is pretty poor at stock. It's around 13 seconds, 13.6 seconds. In fact, let me just pull it up here. So 13.9 seconds stock, and you've got a 920mm turning radius at a top speed of 34 knots. If you put the upgrades into improving your rudder shift time, you can bring this down quite a long way, so that the at least the shift time for the rudder is quite nice. You still have that 920m turning circle radius to deal with though, which you will notice when you play this ship if you come from anything like the Russian ships or the German vessels. That is a big turning circle for a vessel like a cruiser. And last but not least, concealment. I'm not running Concealment Expert on this. I've just got the camouflage, and again, pretty comfortable. Not the best by any stretch of the imagination, but not the worst. You get detected at 13.2 kilometers at sea and 9.7 kilometers by air. And then if you fire your main guns in smoke, your detectability goes to 11.7 kilometers. So it's not exactly stealthy, but it's not exactly easy to detect either. You can certainly get well within your comfortable shooting range, considering that you have a stock firing range of 19.1 kilometers with these guns. So your stock concealment gets you within 13.2 kilometers. So you're definitely well within that kind of comfortable region of within about 15 kilometers. Distance from your ship is really comfortable to put guns and put shots out to that distance. The dispersion on the guns isn't brilliant regardless of the distance you're firing out, unless you're getting into really close quarters engagements, but even at maximum range, usually on most cases with firing all 9 guns on this ship, I'll hit 6 shots, and to me that's consistent enough to put out even reasonable damage at maximum range. Outside of that, I just want to say that it's certainly a ship that I think has been misjudged. I do think that if it had a buff handed to it in terms of improvements slightly to the sigma of the guns and the guns dispersion, maybe a slight reload boost, but I'm only talking very minor adjustments, it would certainly make the selling point this ship has, which is the main guns, a lot more of a viable selling point, and it might convince a few more people to pick it up. As it is now though, I'd just class it as acceptable. If you aren't interested in either getting down a Japanese cruiser line or having a captain trainer for Japanese cruiser lines, then avoid the ship. There are better options out there at tier 8 or tier 9 in terms of how much you have to put out in terms of either money or experience for a better ship, better vessel in terms of performance. So for me, if you don't have any Japanese premium cruisers and you want one to travel down and progress down the Japanese cruiser line, this is certainly a viable option. If not this, then of course you've got the Atago at tier 8, which is still a good ship. This is all down to kind of if you're willing to spend that kind of experience or spend that kind of money on the vessel, it's worth picking up. If you have a premium cruiser already for the Japanese line, or you're not interested in high tier premium for credit earning, then this is one to avoid. It's only really if you're a massive collector that you'd ever pick this up outside of that. I do feel like that the Alaska and the Stalingrad are better options at tier 9 than this vessel, but by no means does that make this bad because those two ships exist. Because I've still had fun in it and I've still enjoyed it, and I haven't regretted spending the money on it. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review and my opinions on the ship. Of course, my thoughts on it are entirely subjective, so you may disagree, or you may find that something that I've said here is incorrect if you happen to have the ship, or you've seen the ship, or based on what you've seen or read about it. But I just wanted to get this out there because I think that this has been judged far too harshly, and a lot of people are saying it's a bad ship and it's one to avoid, and I don't think that's the case. But there you go. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.